my God. What's up? What's happening on a Victory Monday? I mean, the Victory Monday of all Victory Mondays. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube. And that really happened. Like, it's one of those things that you just enjoy in the moment, no matter how you enjoyed it. And I look forward to hearing all the stories of how y'all enjoyed that win over the next couple of days when we open up the phones. And then you watch all the reactions of everybody else, and you see all the sideline videos and the locker room videos, and then you wake up the next morning, you're like, was that real? Did that really happen? Anthony, we were there. We saw it with our own two eyes. That really happened.
I'm still in disbelief.
Yeah. On the postgame show, Logan looks at me and he goes, it was unbelievable. Is that fair to say? And I go, Logan, he ran around for 13 seconds and threw the ball 64 yards in the air. Of course it was unbelievable. Look, we'll do more hardcore analysis as the week goes, because there's a lot in that game in the tape that I think is worth talking about. At least I presume. I haven't really had a chance to watch that much of it yet, if I'm being totally honest. And honestly, today's not a tape day. We can have a full-on tape Tuesday as a show tomorrow. Today's about the vibes. Today is about the fact that we saw one of the coolest things we're ever going to see in our whole football lives. And so let's talk about it, and let's start with the first and 10.
Up 10. It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3, first up, 10 observations.
And just boom, put it right on the ground.
It's first and 10. Number 1.
Whoa.
Number 2.
Cool.
Number 3.
Oh my. Okay, I'm not actually going to do that for all 10. It could have been fun, but we're not going to do that. Here's the real thing.
Number 1.
That is the greatest thing that we will probably ever see in our football life, and it's pretty cool that everyone involved knew it. Jayden Daniels' appreciation for that moment after the game as a rookie in his first season, going, I've never been a part of that, and if I never am again, like, it is what it is. That's pretty awesome perspective from a kid who seems to always have things in perspective. I feel bad, honestly, just saying that he's a kid, because I do want to, like, in some ways I want to say it, right? I want to remind everybody that Jayden Daniels is merely 23 years old. His maturity is so far advanced. His composure is so far advanced. And to think that it's somehow going to only grow, and honestly, if it doesn't, that's fine. He's mature enough and composed enough to operate in this league right now. But it's not just Jayden. It's the joy on Terry McLaurin's face. I had this really cool moment in the locker room where I was standing there with David Aldridge, and it's never lost on me as a kid who grew up watching the NBA on TNT, like, who David is. And we're really lucky that he is in the second phase of his career, whatever phase this is, this current phase, that he is a local to us here in DC. But he's still David freaking Aldridge. And so I'm standing there with the Hall of Famer, and it's me, DA, Nick Allegretti, Tyler Biotish, Sam Cosme eventually comes over, and we're rewatching the play on David's phone. It's the first time those guys have seen it. And it was just a really cool moment to see the appreciation that all three of those, and frankly, all four of those, because David's covered a lot of stuff in his career, to see the appreciation that all of them had for it. Great, funny interaction with Allegretti talking about how on that play, he goes and cleans someone's clock on the back end of that. The last block that's made that gives Jayden that extra little bit to really comfortably step into that throw and torque into it. And Nick's like, oh, I got him, but oh, man, his helmet hit me in the quad. Oh, that hurt like a mother. I'm just out here limping around like in his Chicago accent, which is extra great because they beat his childhood team, and he was a big part of it. Just, there's so many cool moments. DQ at the podium after talking about how that's the first time he's ever been a part of one of those. There's irony, and this part kind of sucks for, for Caleb Williams, but Caleb famously at Gonzaga had that great Hail Mary. So maybe now his association with the term Hail Mary in DC won't be quite as fun. But it's just, that doesn't happen. And there's, of course, some things that need to go right for it to happen. There's things that need to go wrong for it to happen. But there's an element of luck. There's an element of skill and execution. You have to be in position to be lucky. And the fact that the Commanders put themselves in position. They executed perfectly on that play. Zach Ertz making sure that there was a tip ball in the middle. Terry McLaurin, I don't even honestly know who the other receiver, probably Diami, maybe it was OZ, whoever the other receiver was on the front side in case it was batted forward, and then Noah Brown on the backside exactly where he's supposed to be, and thus the ball falls right to him. It's incredible. And I've seen those, by the way, hit receivers in the hands and get dropped before simply because it's so unexpected that it actually works. Terry told us in the locker room afterwards that they practice that drill, but they never practice it in a competitive setting. For all the things that they do competitive in this building, it's too risky that someone's going to get, landed on or roll an ankle or, guys are getting, the million hands and feet all together. And so what they do is they practice it as a defensive drill, and the defensive guys knock it down, and the offensive guys don't really jump. They get out of the way. And then as an offensive drill, the defense gets in position, practices it, but then lets the offense catch it. It's just a safer way to practice all the positioning, and then your competitive spirit takes over in the moment. And they absolutely nailed it. And the pandemonium, the bedlam, I'll say our colleagues over at iHeart, Bram and Fletch, and obviously Logan, who is on the radio call over there and works with us as well. Those guys killed the radio call. I listened a couple minutes ago to the Spanish call. That was great. The Bears call is so perfect. It just and they caught it. Oh my God, the Bears. And the announcer wants to, doesn't even know what to do with themselves. Do I be sad? Do I be excited because I just called this moment? And this is a really cool football moment, but I'm calling it for the team that just got their heart ripped out. Nance's call on CBS was great. Any way you consumed that in person for us in the press box, I literally just jumped up out of my chair, full on, Anthony, what's this called? The what cobra? The surrender cobra. But whatever the opposite of the surrender cobra is, the victory cobra. Just unbelievable, hands on my head. Oh my God, maniacally laughing because that happened. And then somehow it got sweeter.
Number 2.
Because Tyreek Stevenson, who I don't want to go too hard here because he has already apologized and said, I really messed up. Buddy, you sure did. Tyreek Stevenson, who can get a little bit of smoke because he deserved it based off his chirp it all game, even though Terry smoked him on that double move, even though he got beat multiple times and, he got bailed out by a pass rush or whatever. It's not like he played a good game and he was yapping and he picked up the dumb penalty that Sam Cosmi drew on him. Dude had a bad game and he's sitting there at the end after basically, that fourth quarter, we're going to have to figure out what happened there. But we can talk about that later. But that Bears defense, they're good. Hats off. Their second half performance was really good. And the Commanders offense just gets tired, or the defense just gets tired by the end. And so there's Stevenson as the ball is being snapped. Full 5 seconds into the play. Yapping at fans. And then he's like, I guess I better play football now. Goes up, tips the ball right to Noah Brown. It's his hand that doesn't. And there is just a poetic justice. Cue Kendrick Lamar. A poetic justice to that moment. That is, chef's kiss. Beautiful. That's unlucky, though, if we're being honest. There is an element of bad luck to that. However,
Number 3.
there is perfect execution on Washington and horrendously bad football situational awareness by the Chicago Bears to get to that point. The Commanders got the ball with 25 seconds left, right? That's when Chicago scored. It actually was less than that when they took their first snap. Why? Because Austin Eckler had a legitimate kickoff return. The new rule probably helps Chicago there because typically teams used to kick that out of the end zone. Now they're like, it's too punitive. We want to make sure that he's farther back, so they pin it. It also kills off more time. Eckler gets a decent return, but it kills time in a major way. So then Washington, Jayden, that first play, throwing back across his body to Ertz when they didn't have to burn the timeout, that took a lot to not get a lot. It got a nice chunk, and it obviously mattered. I don't know if you realize this, but it all works out in the end. But that wasn't ideal. The next play, the fact that the Bears let them get another 15 yards on an out with 6 seconds left, what are you doing? Jayden can throw a deep ball high and far, which is exactly what you want for a Hail Mary. And boy, did he when the time finally came. But he's not Anthony Richardson. He can't throw the ball 80 yards. Why are you giving them an extra 15 yards? Caleb Williams was apparently on the sideline yelling at Bears defenders, being like, what are you doing? And Matt Eberflus after the game was like, yeah, hey, we were trying to prevent the touchdown. Yeah, you want to know how you prevent the touchdown? You don't let him in range to throw for the touchdown. But hey, credit to Terry. Great field awareness. Credit to Jayden. Rips the ball on the out accurately so Terry can catch it, continue running out of bounds, leads him perfectly. Terry nails the execution, and then obviously we saw what happened from there. But as DQ said afterwards, often in those moments, it's the plays before the play that set it up, and the Commanders did basically everything textbook correct, and the Bears, they bared. Oh, Bears. That's where we start with our 1st and 10. We'll get into a little bit more detail about the game itself coming up and the kind of the rest of it leading up to that final drive in the back half of our 1st and 10 next. It's the Hoffman Show on a Victory Monday on the Team 980. We'll take your calls coming up on a Tell the Truth Monday coming up at 4:30. And the truth is, that game was nuts. We're talking about it now, 1st and 10 style. We talked about the Hail Mary. Let's talk about the rest of the game, and then obviously we'll get a lot more into it as the week goes, because the Bears are a good football team, and I think that is a relevant piece of information as we try to figure out exactly what the Commanders are, which is a really good football team, in my opinion.
Number 4.
It should be said that even though at the end the Commanders had no business winning, the Bears had no business being in the lead in the first place. The Commanders outplayed the Bears thoroughly in this game, and they are a couple of calls and some better execution in some spots where they've been pretty good very often this year from winning this game in a blowout. This game could have easily been 28-0 in the third quarter. Like, the lack of red zone execution, sad. Some of that is completely self-inflicted with penalties and such. They had 2 touchdowns called off the board, both correct calls, by the way. It should be said, even though the Allegretti downfield one is tight, and the Ertz one, I know for some reason people didn't think that was the correct call. It very much easily was. Like, that ball's moving as Ertz hits the ground. His hand is kind of underneath it, but the ball is on the ground as well, and it is moving before he scoops it back up off the ground. Like, he doesn't survive the ground on the catch. That is a very easy call, but it's so close, and he makes that catch probably, 7 times out of 10. It just happened to be one of the 3 that he didn't. Tough one, but that's Zach Ertz. He makes plays like that. So you have 2 touchdowns called off the board. You have, on the first drive of the game, Luke McCaffrey is wide open, and Jayden is rushed just enough by Montez Sweat that he can't get, set his feet and get anything on the ball, and the DB is able to get back. But McCaffrey is butt naked open on that 3rd and 2. Ultimately, they kick a field goal. Also, there's the wacky bit where Seibert kicks the ground. And so otherwise you're probably at a tie game anyway, and maybe we go to overtime and we don't get a Hail Mary situation. But down in, down out, the Commanders were the better football team, and that should be said. I will have a better feel for that once I get through all of the tape. Logan and I record tomorrow morning on Take Command, so if you want to subscribe to Take Command, that's the first place you'll be able to hear that. I will obviously talk about it more on the radio show tomorrow, but yes, the Hail Mary is unlikely, and when a team wins on that unlikely of a situation, then it feels like a lucky win. This was the proper outcome because the Bears' defense is good. They played really well in the second half. Their offense is a nightmare, as we're going to talk about as we go here. But the Bears, were not the better team that all of a sudden got robbed at the end by a lucky play. The Bears were lucky to be in that thing in the first place. You can make, Washington is kind of lucky in the fourth quarter because also why the hell are the Bears handing the ball to a backup offensive lineman on a fullback dive and washing away a touchdown? I don't know. But all in all, that touchdown that should have been there should have also made it 28-14. And Washington could have very easily, based off of the flow and the down in, down out execution, won this game 40-10. That just real talk.
Number 5.
The reason they didn't is because they couldn't finish, and that's not good enough, especially for a team that preaches finishing in the way that they do. They're 0 of 3 in the red zone, 5 of 15 on third down, 4 penalties by the offensive line, including 2 illegal man down field calls that brought back big plays, one of which brought back the OZ touchdown. It's not good enough against better teams. And part of that is when you play better teams, and the Bears are better than some of the teams that Washington has faced, you're under more pressure. It's harder to not hold because the guy across from you is faster and some of that. So that's why it's, you get a little jumpy because I gotta make sure my kick set is good against Montez Sweat because he's really good. But at the end of the day, don't jump off sides. Don't get downfield when you're not even involved in the play. So there's stuff like that if they can just clean up the execution, they turn back into the 30-point team instead of a team that got 18 thanks to a Hail Mary at the end.
Number 6.
Something else that I really want to double click on as I watch the tape this week, and something that Logan and I are going to definitely spend some time on Take Command, is what happened to the run game after the first drive. On the first drive, B-Rob had 5 carries for 35 yards. That's 7 yards per carry. He was killing it. And they ran a bunch of different runs. There's GT pulls, so guard and tackles pulling around. They had one play where Luke McCaffrey kind of comes back across the formation and wham blocks somebody. And you're like, oh, we're sending wide receivers to do this stuff now to cut off backside defensive ends? That's a bold move, Cliff. Worked out. They ran stuff with fullbacks. They ran stuff with multiple tight ends. They ran stuff with no tight ends. Their run game is so varied. They had Jayden pull one on the first drive and get 9 yards. So they just ran the ball down Chicago's throat and then stalled out in the red zone, in part because of one negative carry and then the good rush by Montez that Jayden's able to get a ball off. But Luke, if he's, I don't know, an inch taller and can keep a toe down, like it was so close to a touchdown. But then the rest of the game, 15 carries for 30 yards. So he got some opportunities, but it definitely felt as if as the game went, the game got away from Brian Robinson, and they didn't have ways to fit that. Their Chicago's second-level defenders are really fast and fit runs really well, so you got to give credit to the Bears there. And then Eckler, too. It's not like they got him going, and you got to credit Chicago on that because Eckler was the guy that I thought might kill them in this game because they've been really bad at giving up explosive runs. And outside of the 29-yard meaningless carry when Dan Quinn didn't call the Hail Mary at the end of the first half, Eckler only has 6 carries for 23 yards the rest of the game. So all in all, the running game for Washington was done by volume, done by Jayden scrambles, and a couple of key points in the game that allowed them to get some production that looks good on the stat sheet. But realistically, it was not a great rushing performance, and I really want to do a better job of understanding why.
Number 7.
Terry McLaurin has been unbelievable this year, and especially as of late. And I would just like to highlight for a moment his greatness because we've always known Terry's an elite player in this league. Maybe not a top 5 guy, but he's to me a top 10 receiver in this league. And he's had to deal with so many different quarterbacks, and he has continued to just put up 1,000-yard season after 1,000-yard season after 1,000-yard season in this league. And all of a sudden, you get him a real dude. You get him a real great quarterback. You get him a play caller who understands, and it took a few weeks, but understands how to get him the football and let him be dangerous, where he's reliable, how to get him unlocked deep. And since week 2, where Terry had 2 catches on 4 targets in the opener, against the Giants, they attempted to get him the ball. It just didn't go great. He was 6 catches for 22 yards. Since then, he has had 52 yards and 53 yards in a couple of games. And the other 4 games are 100, 112, 98, 125. So in his last 6 games, he's over 100 yards 3 times, has 98 yards another time. That's ridiculously good production. That is some serious high-level ball. And in the 5 for 125 and the way that he got it on Sunday, big plays, big chunks, key catches from the first half all the way down to the play before the Hail Mary, that threat of taking the top off the defense has opened up the offense for guys like Zach Ertz over the middle, who just continues to be open almost whenever Jayden needs him. And that combination with the running game and Jayden's running element is why I don't think that there's a great solution against this team. Again, Washington stopped itself on some level in the red zone. Their offense down in, down out was still really good in this game. I mean, Jayden had almost 400 yards of offense by himself. So I do think that they need to continue to mature and score more consistently in some of these tougher games. But I think they're like a legitimately phenomenal offense, and Terry is playing a huge, huge part in that. On the other side of the ball,
Number 8.
Joe Witt Jr. had Caleb in an absolute blender. And I'll talk more about Williams in a second. But Witt in this game, the pressure calls, the simulated pressures, the different matchups that they chose, holy crap, man. They had 25 pressures in this game, according to PFF. Johnny Newton had 7. 7 for Johnny Newton. He played 18 snaps against the pass. 3 hits, 3 hurries, had a sack. Jalen Holmes gets on the board in this game. Luvu obviously had Williams dead to rights a couple times. They got pressure on 61% of Williams' dropbacks. 61%. Now, Caleb did an unbelievable job of avoiding sacks. The Newton one off the botched screen is, I think, the only one that officially, or that goes down as a sack. Yeah. No, they gave 2 more. Holmes had the one, and then Duran had one. But mostly Caleb was able to get out. So it's 22 times there's pressure and no sack. But if that's not Caleb or Jayden or Pat Mahomes or Lamar, That's a 5 to 10 to 12 sack performance from that D-line. And how on it Joe Witt was fantastic. And now they just obviously need to finish better, which is hard, but needs to happen. 2 Bears notes.
Number 9.
Caleb Williams made some of the sickest throws that I've ever seen in my entire life in that fourth quarter. And if he can figure out how to play on schedule and continue to make chicken salad when the play gives him chicken you-know-what, instead of sometimes creating his own problems and being out of rhythm and then having to play off structure, he is going to live up to the hype that he had going into this, and he will go down as one of the all-time greats. That's not a comparison to Jayden. They both might wind up in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's how talented Caleb is. That's how ridiculously good Jayden has been. And we are 7-8 games into this, so I'm not trying to get too far out over the skis, but I'm just telling you that, like, watching Caleb Williams operate, the liveliness of his arm, some of the plays he makes off schedule, that dude is nasty. And he is in a bad situation on offense. I hate what they are doing to him offensively, and I hate what they did in this game. And the fact that it came off a bye is kind of, frankly, embarrassing. He had a miserable day through 3.5 quarters at 36 yards going into the last couple of drives. And then he made some stuff happen. And it was Mahomesian. And I do not say Mahomesian lightly. But that is to say, for the DC kid, Caleb Williams, he's going to be all right. I wouldn't want him over Jayden Daniels right now. I don't know that I'd want him over Jayden Daniels for the future. That's about Jayden. Caleb, that dude's good. But he's not the best player that is on his team, and he's not the best player that the Chicago Bears drafted this year.
Number 10.
No, that is the punter. I got to look. Hold on. I need to look up his name because he deserves respect. The Bears punter's the best punter I've ever seen. Torrey Taylor. This dude was on one yesterday. Washington started, Sam Fortier gets the credit here for looking this up. Washington started 5 drives at or inside its own 9-yard line. You can't play a field position game when the other punter just automatically, you lose. And Washington has Trust Way. Since 2000, that's only happened 10 times. 5 drives at or inside your own 9-yard line. And to Sam's point, one reason that the Commanders had a tough time finishing drives is because they had to go so freaking far to get where they were going. Kid, Torrey Townsend, you're really good at kicking. Or sorry, Torrey Taylor. My bad. You deserve better than that. Torrey Taylor, you're really good at punting footballs. You're the best player on the Bears. And I don't mean that as a shot at any other player on the Bears. Trust Way was the best player on this team for a long time. Oh my God, what a weapon that dude is. Unfortunately for the Bears, he was called upon a lot yesterday. And yeah, good job, punter man. Okay, that's first and 10, everybody. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, your calls, 301-230-0980. It's Tell the Truth Monday. Your truth on the game. Next on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're taking your calls at 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. It is a Tell the Truth Monday, but also if you just want to gloat, you want to cry, you want to talk about the happiness, if your truth is that you no longer believe that this franchise is voodooed, then whatever you got, 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Anthony, I haven't talked to you since I didn't see you in the locker room. Did you just jet after the game? What did you do? Did you go celebrate? Did you take your credential off and go become a fan? What happened to you?
Essentially, Craig. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was so overwhelmed by the moment. I walked out. I started to, go down towards the locker rooms. And I saw all the fans outside. And I just couldn't believe the MVP chants, fans chest bumping each other, dapping each other up. The drums playing outside, the music. Everybody was still in the parking lot outside. So you know what I did after the game, Craig? I went to go buy myself a jersey.
Are you wearing it right now?
Nah. Hey, look, I left it this morning. I had it laid out on my bed like, the first day of school. I'm a little kid. And I left it on my bed, and I'm so sad I didn't bring it because I was going to wear it today.
Was it a Jayden jersey?
Yes, I got the Jayden Daniels jersey.
Which color?
Oh, I got the burgundy.
Okay.
I thought about getting the black, but I was like, I want to go burgundy.
By the way, how awesome is it that now the black jerseys, instead of being associated with getting murdered by the Bears last year and all the other times that it hadn't gone great in those, gets to be associated with that play. That legendary moment happened in those jerseys. And for those of us that think the jerseys are actually pretty cool, I think that's a good thing. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Also, I can make sure that I got Twitter up if you want to hit me there, at Craig Hoffman. The YouTube chat's popping as you would expect today. I will say, coming up in a little bit, speaking of the YouTube chat, remember last week when a couple Bears fans got lost and found their way in our YouTube comments during the live show? And also remember how then there were Instagram and TikTok comments and all that stuff? Yeah. I can be a little bit petty sometimes. And so we might have a special edition of Never Read the Comments today. I'm just like, Michael Phillips is going to join us at 5 o'clock as usual. And then at 5:15, we definitely might just have to go and pull a bunch of comments from Bears fans who couldn't keep their hands to themselves / their Twitter fingers in their own comment sections and decided to yappity yap, yap, yap with a whole lot of talk to me on Sunday. Sorry, I don't have a show on Sundays, except for the part where I did be pretty petty. Anthony, by the way, have you seen my pettiness that I unloaded at the end of the Take Command Instant Reaction show last night?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I did say I did not wait till Monday. But for the real reveal, they're going to have to wait till Monday. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Big Tony. Tony, thanks for calling on the Tell the Truth Monday. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Well, since we're telling the truth, here we go. Y'all missed a lot of red zone joints. Caleb played like garbage. Your defense in the last the fourth quarter just saved their life. They could not stop it, even on that little. God knows who told them to call that play on the goal line with the fullback, but that's a different story. Didn't matter. They would have scored 3 out of 3. You got the ball back. You came down, and God knows what they were doing, thinking about. I mean, dude was thinking about going to the mumbo sauce and the go-go, and he just got all discombobulated. So you won the game fair and square, but, I mean, Chicago's problem was when Caleb couldn't throw the ball, I don't know why they wouldn't run it because they were getting –
Because outside of one carry, Washington's run defense was phenomenal. And on that one carry that went 57 yards, there was a block in the back and a blatant missed holding call at the point of attack, or that runs a -2.
Craig, I understand that, but when they couldn't run up the middle, but when they were sweeping them or tossing,
Still wasn't that good.
But that's besides the point.
No, it's not. You're just
Y'all
literally
won
trying to
first.
make that the point.
No. I said Chicago should have ran the ball and just kept sticking. But when you run the ball, that kills the clock. That means
They were
the
down.
Commanders can't be on the. No, what I'm saying is.
I hear what you're saying. It doesn't make a damn
bit.
bit of sense. The next thing you say that makes sense will be the first of this phone call, Tony.
No, listen to me, Craig.
I'm listening.
Chicago.
Yes.
Kill the game. Just run the ball. Even if you don't get nothing, it kills the clock for the entire game because you were going up and down the field. You just were kicking field goals. You see what I'm saying?
No.
Does-
You wanted the team that had less points on the
Are you
board
not
to
listening
kill the
to me?
game. No, you don't understand, apparently. This is not golf, Tony. The higher score wins.
Slim, you're not listening to me, Craig. Craig, listen to me.
Anthony, am I off my rocker here?
No,
I'm
no,
lost
Craig,
too.
Craig,
I'm trying
Craig.
to.
You got
Make
one
it
more.
make sense.
You got one
You're
more
not
attempt at
listening-
this.
Okay, listen to me.
I've
I'm
been listening the
Chicago-
whole time. Say something that's not
Okay,
dumber than a box of rocks, and perhaps you'd have a point.
Listen to me. If I'm Chicago, the whole game, the Commanders are going up and down the field, and they're kicking field goals. Chicago can't score, so I'm trying to kill the clock.
Who?
If
Chicago
I'm
or
Chicago
Washington?
with the running game?
Why
No,
are you trying to
Chicago.
kill the
If I'm
clock
Chi-
if you are losing?
No, dude, the slow, so you don't get more possessions. Is what I'm saying.
You need possessions to
okay.
score. That's how football works,
okay,
Tony. No, you're just gonna keep saying the same thing. I hung up on Tony because Tony was gonna keep saying the same thing that didn't make a damn bit of sense. That is on the long list of dumb phone calls we have taken from this show. Objectively, top 5 dumbest. Objective, not like I didn't personally like it. You need more possessions to score when you're losing. That sounds like Bears fan math, which is weird because Big Tony's a Steelers fan, right?
He's a Steelers fan.
What? Hold on.
I'm lost too because if they would have ran the clock out, I don't get it. I don't.
Yeah, they should have. Yes, Chicago should have run the clock out and would have saved them embarrassment from getting a Hail Mary dropped on their head.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.
All right, let's get rolling on a Tell the Truth Monday, or keep rolling. Michael Phillips coming up at 5 p.m. A very special Bears fans who couldn't keep their mouth shut edition of Never Read the Comments coming up at 5:15. But let's go with Al, who's got some thoughts from the game yesterday. Al, you're up on a Tell the Truth Monday.
Hey, thanks. First of all, I've just recently gotten my wife to watch the games with me, teach her a little bit about it, and she was the one that kept telling me in the last minute that they still had a chance the game wasn't over. Love my wife. Number two, that was probably the most exciting play I've seen. You go look this one up. Since George Izzo threw a 99-yard pass from the 1-yard line to Bobby Mitchell years ago. I don't know that it won the game, but it was, one of the better plays I've ever seen the Washington team make. And number three, first of all, the name of the punting award is named after Ray Guy.
Yep.
And again, when I was at Virginia Tech way back in, I think it was in 70, Ray Guy kicked for Southern Miss in the stadium. And I was just in awe at how high he kicked the ball and how far he kicked the ball. But I really think Tress Way has been the MVP of Washington's team for at least the last 2 and 3 years. Now he's the most overpaid player they have on the team, but he's still great. So that punter is fantastic.
Hey, Al, that's a great call. And as someone who has also got his wife to watch more football with him recently and who loves Jayden Daniels, that is an excellent Tell the Truth Monday on all accounts. Thanks for the call. Yeah, and by the way, talk about the most exciting. I just looked up that Bobby Mitchell play. It's crazy, 99 yards. And any 99-yarder is going to be incredible. But on terms of the drama of winning the game, Washington's PR staff put out a stat earlier today. That is the first walk-off touchdown for Washington since at least the 1970 merger, a.k.a. the Super Bowl era. Literally never happened before. They've never won on a Hail Mary like that. So if you were there yesterday, which, I was, Anthony was, and everybody who's a Washington fan in the next 15 years is going to say that they were too, whether they actually were or not, because that's how they're going to wind up with the 300,000 people having been at Northwest Stadium yesterday. When you watched it at your house. By the way, how great is it, Anthony? I don't know if you've seen any of these. How many people have like ring cams and stuff in their house, and so they wound up like capturing their reaction?
Yeah. Did you see the video I sent you?
We've sent each other like 17 things today.
Oh, my God. I just saw one like right before the show that had me in tears.
Bears fan?
No, it was a Commanders fan.
Oh, okay.
I saw a couple of the Bears ones, but the Commanders one I just saw like right before the show had me actually crying.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good. You can watch them endlessly. And my algorithm knows it right now. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Reggie. Reggie, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show on a Tell the Truth Monday.
Craig, man, I freaking lost my daggone voice, man. But listen, I'm talking about since the modern football. I'm talking about maybe 2000. I don't think we've had a player that galvanizes our team like JD. I know RG3, but you would know this, more of an insider. It was like, I don't know if he connected the entire locker room. From the stuff you heard, he was more kind of, snoozing with Dan Snyder. So I don't know how the relationship was with the coaches and the players. But you hear, like I've heard multiple times, and I love the YouTube shorts. So they were showing like on the field. And I think I may have heard it 4 or 5 times. We have a chance with number 5.
Yep.
We have a chance. Like a lot of players were saying that. So my tell the truth is, and I heard this from the Junkies, JP. He said, "Listen, man, that the Commanders could be this year's Houston Texans with C.J. Stroud." And first you didn't really want to believe it because you'll listen. You think about I think our over and under was 6. I put a little small couple of shekels on that, so I'm going to be happy in a couple of weeks. But you think about and look at this team right now. We have an identity. We don't give up. Okay, Craig, I don't know about this defense, man. Every time when you looked at all of the, kind of the overviews, it's going to be hard to stop the Bears. The last 3 games. Now, for me, I'm looking at it. Okay, they played the Panthers, they played the Jaguars, and I think they played the Rams or somebody. It wasn't great competition.
Yep.
But it was like, what are we going to do with DJ Moore, what he did to us last year? How are we going to stop Adunze? How are we going to stop Komet? How are we going to – he scored 15 points.
Yeah. And by the way, Reggie, they wouldn't have scored 15 if the offense could have done anything because they were dog tired by the end of that. And, I wanted to be very clear about this with, the penalty by BSJ at the end is bad. I don't think that Benjamin had his greatest game. I think down in, down out, that whole defense was really good for most of the game. But, that penalty at the end is because they had been so good with their pass rush the entire game up until the fourth quarter that Benjamin is kind of relying on the fact that there's no time for a double move there. So he jumps Keenan out. I understand why he did it. You have to have more patience in that spot, and that's a learning experience for him, and either he'll get better or he'll get gone, and that's just the reality of the NFL. It stands for not for long. But, I actually even understand what he did there in that final moment. Again, I'm not endorsing it, but, I understand it. And so, I think this defense, by and large, the last 4 weeks has played pretty consistently. The difference is, against Baltimore, that level only does just so good. Against Chicago and Carolina, it does you what we just saw. And so I think that the defense is really coming around, and they deserve a lot of credit, and Joe Witt deserves a lot of credit. And then it's a matter of playing complementary football. And when they do, and the offense finishes, and they can sustain some drives and eat a little bit more clock, then they look dominant for 60 minutes. If they have to play a much larger percentage of the snaps over 60 minutes, that's just human nature that they're going to get tired by the end, and unfortunately, that's what happened to them.
And then one last thing, Craig. I know it's one game. They met up, and again, it's not technically, me versus you, but they're always going to be compared. Strictly eyeballs. I'm not talking about, the scheme. We could talk about that. The coaching is not even on the same level. It's not even close, Jayden Daniels with Caleb Williams. Now, what I will say is Caleb, his little, kind of that small inside-the-box escapability
it's ridiculous.
Is phenomenal because he was putting some moves on. Because Jayden, when he escapes, Jayden gone 30 yards.
Yeah.
Caleb, again, I saw some things from Caleb that when the play breaks down, I'll give him that little nod. But other than that, Craig, he completed 3 passes. In the first half?
It was brutal. That was bad. I also think the coaching is different, and I think you also see the difference in a dude who started 55 games in college versus the 30 or whatever he did that Caleb did. A 23-year-old versus a guy who finished college at 21 is now 22. You see that experience, that maturity, and you see how they're handling it differently. I hate Chicago's offense. I love Washington's offense from a design and how they insulate their quarterback.
Yep.
But I also think you see what makes it's not all that. It's Jayden's really special in the ways he is, and I think that's more sustainable in the league. And Caleb's really special, and he can pull Houdini stuff, and that's really great. But he's got to be more consistent down in, down out, and he's just not right now. And if that stuff comes, he'll be one of the great ones. If not, then he's going to be hella fun to watch, but also really, really frustrating and a guy who always has a little bit of that what if to him. And especially that gets worse if Jayden turns out to be the track that Jayden's on, because Chicago will have passed on Jayden. But I don't if I'm the Bears, and Reggie, really appreciate the call. Thanks as always. If I'm the Bears, I'm fine with who I selected. I think Caleb's really special. I am not psyched about this staff, offensive coordinator wise especially. Eberflus has done an incredible job with that defense, but buddy, Shane Waldron, that is not a good offense and not for a rookie quarterback. Meanwhile, what Cliff is doing right now, cooking. And he cooked in this game too. They just needed to finish. They needed to execute. You got a couple touchdowns that are called off the board. Barely miss a catch. Lineman downfield. That's not on the play caller at that point. Those plays worked. Players got to finish them. And there's a couple other things that as the week goes, I'm sure we'll hit on in terms of how I liked what Cliff did in this game in a lot of ways. I do need to get to the bottom of the run stuff, but that's going to be a Tape Tuesday thing tomorrow. Appreciate everyone's calls. We'll get back to him in a little bit. Michael Phillips, who I punched yesterday in a loving way. I'll tell that story when Phillips joins us next on The Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. Coming up in about 15 minutes, a very special edition of Never Read the Comments, which is going to be filled with comments from last week from Bears fans who couldn't keep their mouths shut. Retribution, comeuppance, whatever you want to call it, it's coming. I know you guys are waiting for it, but you always wait for this too. 5 o'clock on a Monday, it's time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story, from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Joining me today is a man who, when the Chicago Bears were driving and I turned to him in the press box as he sits right next to me, I said, Michael, as in Michael Phillips of 910 The Fan, our sister station down in Richmond, longtime cover of the Washington football franchise. I said, Michael, this feels familiar and it doesn't feel good. And Michael, what did you tell me?
I said you're getting FedEx fielded.
No, you said you're getting Northwest Stadiumed. And so
That's
after
right,
the
it has a
Hail
new
Mary,
name.
I turned to Michael Phillips and I didn't punch him, but I took the open, just an open palm, really the hard part of the palm, right there, and I smacked him in the shoulder just hard enough for it to be funny, but not too hard to cause him any physical pain. And I go, Michael, you got Northwest Stadiumed.
Shoulder's good this morning. We're going to be able to play this weekend. Man, what what a turning of the page. I've seen so many of those, and they've always gone the other way.
They have always gone the other way, or just all of the demons felt like got exercised in that moment. Obviously, there's still a lot of football left, but I mean, obviously, I know on some level your vantage point, what was running through your head because we were standing next to each other. I feel like I momentarily blacked out. Like next thing I knew, I was standing like hands on head, surrender cobra style, but whatever the happy version is, like back against the wall, stunned and laughing maniacally. What was going through your head, though, as Jayden's running around and kind of as that whole sequence of plays unfolds and then the immediate aftermath?
it took a long time. He was back there for a while before he threw it. And kudos to the offensive line and Austin Eckler for buying that time. And Eckler described it after the game. He said, it's not, you don't hear the noises loud. It's just like everything like stands still, like in the war movie when they do the like dramatic pause, you're just like time standing still. Between the ball being tipped and Noah Brown catching it was one of those moments for me where everything just like slowed down. It's like, oh my goodness, which, I've experienced a few times in sports. Lars Eller, when he was about to punch in the winner in the Stanley Cup, he's like, oh, wow, the puck's right there. He's going to put it in the net. They're going to win the Stanley Cup. Wow, there's Noah Brown. He's going to catch the football. He's going to do this thing. And then he did it in the explosion. And, I've been, for as maligned as the stadium is, there have been some very nice moments there. I certainly think the loudest remains when they beat the Cowboys to make the playoffs in 2012. And that was just a sustained party loud for a really long time. This was a spontaneous 0 to 100 loud that was its own really special kind of fun.
I mean, it's in some ways it's hard to talk about because it's almost like you had to be there, you had to experience it, and everyone listening experienced it in their own way, whether they were there or watching at home. But is there anything significant? Like, there's the obvious, right? 6-2, better than 5-3. So there's the football like standings element. But does the play and the execution or the never say die attitude, does any of that stuff matter to you, or is this a lucky play? How do you make sense of those thoughts and ideas?
Well, it keeps the conversation in a good place, right? Because otherwise we'd be talking about, all right, you rushed Jayden back. He clearly didn't look right. And you lost to the Bears, and he didn't have the week to get healthy. Oh, no, this is not good. Defense couldn't make a stand when it mattered, and offense is still undisciplined, and the receivers are dropping the balls and the penalties, right? All those things you talk about after a loss. And, man, defense, let him inside the 5 twice at the end. They finally punched it in. It spares us from all of that, which keeps the good vibes rolling, which is awesome. 6-2 means they're probably a playoff team. It would be a stunner at this point if they're not a playoff team. That's exciting. I just continue to see the really big picture, which is this isn't the roster Adam Peters is assembling. Like, this is the roster on the road to that roster. He's got a ton of cap space, and he's got a ton of draft picks next year. And this is going to be the place people want to be. And it just hasn't been that in so long. It's as crazy as it is to talk about the offseason right now at 6-2. It's going to be a stupid fun offseason, Craig, because all the name guys are going to want to come here and play with Jayden.
Michael Phillips, 910 The Fan. You can listen to MP on the mic, 10 a.m. to noon, daily on the free Odyssey app. No, it's a great point, and this is still, it feels like we're in the middle of something, but it is a good reminder that we're also at the start of something. But to the point where you started, Michael, where there's all these things that we're doing a very different show today if that ball gets tipped properly, or if there's someone back there on Noah Brown, or any of the things that end if the Bears don't give up 15 yards to let Washington in range to throw it in the first place. If any of that stuff happens, we're having a very different show today. But is that show today one where you think the Commanders lost a game they should have won? Like, in the end, even though it's the most circuitous route to get there, do you feel like this is a just ending based off who the better team was?
Well, for 3 quarters, the Commanders were unquestionably the better team. They were driving the ball. Chicago was not driving the ball. In the trenches, this turned into like a weirdly like rivalry-style game. Guys were chippy. The Bears players were super undisciplined. You had guys, taking dives, punching each other in the helmet, kind of all that rivalry stuff. I guess I missed the part where this became a rivalry, but it seemed like they really didn't like each other for 3 hours yesterday. The Commanders were winning in the trenches, and man, they were making Caleb Williams uncomfortable. So, right, boxing style, judges' scorecard, the Commanders won 3 of the 4 quarters on my scorecard. The Bears won the 4th quarter. Caleb caught his rhythm. He got rolling. He did the things that he does well, and the defense was able to hunker down and stop Jayden at the moment where he was visibly uncomfortable and in pain, and he played a lot of professional football that day, so it's certainly not out of range. So I thought the Commanders won 3 of the quarters. The Bears won the 4th quarter. By that metric, you would say the Commanders deserved the win and were the better team. A lot of those red zone possessions started really deep in their own territory. So this is an offense that gained a lot of yards on their way to not a lot of points. You can say, hey, they didn't cash in on their opportunities. They had it coming if they lost. But I thought on the whole, the offense played pretty well overall.
Michael Phillips with us for another minute or two here on the Hoffman Show. So when you look at this team moving forward, how much of a jump do you feel like the defense has made and I guess when I say moving forward, like, is your outlook for this season any different based off how the defense has played the last month, or is it more of a reflection of the teams that they've faced, especially the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think the defensive line has gotten definitively better every week. I love Luvu, Fowler, and of course Wagner at linebacker. That's a great group. Secondary still a liability, but they're getting better every week. And you could see the defensive line in particular. And man, they got a lot better yesterday, Craig. So I still don't think this is a Super Bowl team, but I think this is a bona fide, legit playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, well, at 6-2, they better be. The better be, Washington.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just turned into like
with
an
some
old
fun
yelling mother
games
or something.
on tap too. The Giants game this week isn't a fun game because it's a game everybody expects them to win, and so one outcome is they win and that's fine. The other outcome is they lose and it's bad. But the Steelers getting a chance to test against a great defense. Philly's got its rhythm, and playing the Cowboys is always a lot of fun. That's a really fun 3-game stretch.
No, it's really fun. I mean, that Thursday nighter against Philly is going to be interesting because it's Thursday Night Football, and, this staff has had a plan for basically everything. And so how do they handle Thursday night? Obviously, Pittsburgh. It's going to be interesting. I also, that Pittsburgh game is a little scary if this offensive line doesn't get healthier. They got to get Coleman back. They got to figure out what's going on with Lucas. Like, they got to figure that out because if TJ Watt's coming to town against a banged-up offensive line, I know Cliff's done a tremendous job of insulating them, but, oh, buddy, that's a different level of task. But that's a couple weeks away from.
You mentioned the 4th quarter, right? I think that was a big part of it. When Lucas left was really when Jayden was at his worst, you would say. And I echo your thoughts there. You need one of those two in the lineup. No disrespect to Scott, but he's not going to be able to hold his own against the Steelers for sure.
No, definitely not. All right, Michael Phillips, 910 The Fan in Richmond. Always a pleasure, sir. We will do this again next week and enjoy what I'm sure will be a fun week of shows for you down there, as we're certainly expecting a fun week up here.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, it's Michael Phillips, everybody, whose shoulder I punched yesterday here on the Team 980. When we get back, we're going to do some proverbial punching. Bears fans, you were real mouthy last week. We were over here minding our own business. You decided to come into our house and start yelling. Well, messed around, found out. Or you're about to next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And last week we were doing our regular set of shows, and something that literally has never happened before to me happened. An opposing fan base decided they wanted to be involved in our conversation in a way that has just not happened since we've been doing this show, or I've been doing, frankly, any other show in my 10-plus year media career on any outlet, radio, digital, or otherwise. And it wasn't done in a, hey, guys, let's chat about football kind of way. It was antagonistic. And frankly, it was kind of rude. Coming in our live show, our live stream, and in the comment section and calling Washington a poverty franchise. Like, yeah, your Bears have been a shining beacon of a franchise for their 100-plus year history. Yeah, congrats on the 8 NFL championships you won before the merger in 1970 when none of you commenting were alive. You got one since 1963. The 85 Bears, who were one of the NFL's best teams ever. Amazing. And you want to know who beat them in the next, not one, but 2 seasons in the playoffs? Washington did. So this also feels like a good time to remind everyone that I'm not a fan. I work here, and I'm doing a show and putting out content, and people are welcome to comment on it however they like. But this is a show. This is entertainment. So when you insert yourself into the show, well, welcome. You're a part of the show now. Put another way, if you mess around, you may very well find out. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for a very special Bears fans who couldn't keep their mouths shut edition of Never Read the Comments.
We tried to warn them. They didn't listen.
Yeah!
Every week, the Hoffman Show goes into the belly of the beast.
We read those comments, baby.
Never read the comments.
All right, Anthony, you ready for this?
Let's get it.
All right, let's start on TikTok. Yeah, we're going multi-platform here. We're going YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I got comments from all of them. We saved some receipts. Starting off with, this is actually would be funny, but Gary Trey Terry says, podcast equipment should be more expensive. Gary Trey Terry, man with 2 first names and whatever the hell Terry is. This is, by the way, spelled T-A-R-Y. Not T-E-R-R-Y. Terry.
Like you put at the end of Singletary.
Yeah. Yeah. This ain't podcast equipment, bro. It's a radio show. We got hundreds of thousands of people listening. Not whatever you got on your little TikTok page. It's big broadcast media. Big show. Big show. Plus, they made podcast equipment more affordable, which is nice. Brendan B, quadruple R, 5 E's, 4 N's, 2 D's, 3 A's, 3 N's, something like that. I didn't actually count. Someone who is so uncreative that instead of coming up with a number combination or something, with any kind of thought in his screen name, was just like, oh, that one's taken. Let me add another letter. Oh, that's enough R's. Okay, let's go to E. Oh, no, I need an extra E. Oh, another E. Oh, okay. Brendan, who last week said, please tell me the score from last year, please. At least he asked nicely, so nicely that he put please twice, Anthony. Please tell me the score from last year, please. You won by a lot. Congratulations. Brendan. Can you tell me the score from this year? What? It was 18-15 Washington, which isn't some great score. But the problem when you just can't keep your mouth shut, if you just want to make it based off the most recent result, is that this stuff can happen to you. You can lose on a Hail Mary in embarrassing fashion. And all of a sudden, the last result's not good, which I also do understand, Brendan, why you wanted to pick last year's result, because the Washington franchise record versus the Chicago franchise record is a lot more wins for Washington than it is for Chicago. Black Air Force wear. Keep this energy when you lose by 20. 20. That would involve you scoring 20 points, bro. Lego Batman. Who cares about the past? We're talking today. Chicago's going to whoop that ass. Whoopsies. Whoops.
Nah, this is actually hilarious.
How about this one? On one of the, I updated on Friday, Jayden Daniels' status, Anthony. And so this is no longer even anything related to the Bears. Now we just got, again, Bears fans just coming in off the top into the Washington conversation. No mention of the Bears at all. Gotan 23, whatever that means, finally has to go against a good defense, and they're going to rest him. Boo. Boogeyman came. How'd that go for you? 326 yards, touchdown. Seemed to go okay for what? Anthony, he played.
He went crazy. He went federal, as we should say.
It makes sense at the Fed. It should have seen that one coming. Northwest
Yes,
Federal
sir.
Credit. He went Northwest Federal Credit Union on you. On Instagram, this one I actually just got a couple minutes ago. This was not a kept receipt. This is Bears fans coping. Parker Sweeney. I know a Commanders fan isn't call us. Again, the grammar in these are just hideous. So I apologize if I can't read some of them or I stumble because, look, we never said these comments are smart. I know a Commanders fan isn't call us a sorry-ass franchise. Y'all haven't done anything either in 2 decades. Dallas and Philly has owned you for the past 20 years. And don't remember who dropped 40 on your head last year. Again, this all started because Bears fans were calling Washington a poverty franchise. Washington fans know they were a poverty franchise for the last 25 years. And it happened because they let a dude buy the team who had no business buying the team. And he was the worst owner in sports. And yet, when you look at the records over those times, where now we've got a distinctly different path in this city on how things are going to go. Y'all are just keeping on trucking along like the Chicago Bears have done for 100 years. They don't look that dissimilar, to be honest. In fact, you could argue Washington has had 2 of the worst owners in the history of the NFL. Like, Washington cost itself 2 decades of football because the owner in the 40s and 50s was racist as hell and wouldn't sign any black players. They were the last team to integrate. That's not a point of pride. Like, that's obviously anti-point of pride. They literally were so racist that they wouldn't sign players that would help them. They were the last team. And look at the win totals over that time. Washington was good enough at other points to overcome it. 3 Lombardis to 1. So it's not that Washington actually has been awesome. It's like, who are you? Keep your eyes on your own paper. And I will also add this one extremely petty point, Anthony. Because the Bears fans want to bring up last year. Who was the head coach of the Commanders last year?
Ron Rivera.
A member of the 1985 Chicago Bears! The hell's wrong with y'all? James Robinson, 8623 on YouTube. Who's this dude talking? Apparently he doesn't know football. Again, doesn't know. N-O football. Whew. Apparently he doesn't know football because the Bears D will be the best D that Washington has faces this far. But Mariota is trash, always has been trash. His passes was sloppy the whole game. Yeah, they beat the Panthers with Mariota, but in his NFL career, he's trash. Even if JD playing, it's not going to be a catwalk. It's cakewalk, not catwalk. Mariota is 2-0 in his career against the Bears, and you couldn't pass the first grade, bro. What are we doing? On Twitter, place you go for the best analysis, Anthony. Someone listened to the conversation we had, the crossover episode between Take the North, the Bears podcast that we have in our Odyssey family, and Take Command. And Dougalicious, 555. Oh, Dougie Doug. Holy S, is Craig a homer? That's me, notoriously homer, Anthony.
Wow.
Because I said that the Commanders could compete and that they're playing well. A team that was 5-2 going into this game. And then, whoopsie daisies, look at that. Would you look at the final score? They won. Maybe I knew what I was talking about, Doug. This was a fun one. Bring the Hook 3. It's funny seeing Commanders fans come out the cave they've been in since RG3 got injured. Poverty organization, no history, no nothing. Just been sucking forever. You couldn't pay a Commanders fan to reveal themselves the past 10 years. Now y'all everywhere. There wasn't a lot to talk about the last 20 years. That's kind of the point. Because when our team isn't good, and I'm going to go our team here, when the DC team isn't good, we're smart enough to keep our mouths shut, you clowns. That's the point of all of this. The point of all of this. Someone commented on TikTok, that was a Commanders fan, JD_AF. They talk like Philly, but win like Cleveland. That's the point here. I have a ton of respect for the Bears organization. I have a ton of respect for the Bears franchise. I have a ton of respect for a lot of Bears fans. I have a lot of friends who are Bears fans, and they know it's been a rough time for them. But they look at Washington, they're like, dang, it's been a rough time for you too, because they have empathy and they know their place. The reason that this week was miserable for all you clowns that couldn't keep your mouth shut on the Chicago side of things is because y'all have no self-awareness. Yeah, it has been a long time since Commanders fans have been able to say anything. But what we're saying now is like, hey, it's really cool that our team is good. Our eyes are on our own paper. And yet, here you are, yapping when you have been terrible the whole time. And as a little cherry on top, I really enjoyed this one, Anthony. _Ferris Bueller commented like as soon as I posted my little mini version of this rant last night on TikTok, Anthony. As soon as I posted that little mini version, my little bit of pettiness compared to the mega bag that I decided to rip open today, he commented, 0 likes. 1,500 likes later and 10,000 views and counting later, I would just simply say _Ferris Bueller, it's a little on the nose for a Bears fan not to know when the game is over. That's Never Read the Comments. We'll go around the NFL next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. And yes, I feel better after the last segment. Coming up at 6 p.m., we'll take a look at the Commanders' win through the lens of the 6 players that we thought were going to be really important to this game on Friday in our Pick 6. But right now, Anthony, it is time to go around the NFL. I laugh because when I saw you in the press box yesterday, well, not the very start of the day, but at some point, actually, no, it was pretty close to the start because it was at the end of the 4 o'clock games.
Yeah, I was there for about an hour.
Yeah.
I didn't know where. It's because I got caught talking about LeBron James. That's why.
Oh, yeah. LeBron James. You looked at me, and one of the first things you said to me is, we did terrible on our picks.
Yeah.
Early window, not good. I do think we made up some ground, or at least I made up some ground in the late window, based off how I did on the first impressions selection show, the against the spread picks that I do on YouTube on Monday. Tony and I did that today. I started 1-5 and finished the day. I'm 8-7 going into the Monday Nighter tonight against the spread. Yeah, Tony went 9-6 this week. Not quite my 11-5 from last week, but I don't think I'll ever do that again in my life against the spread.
Yeah.
Wish I would have put a couple shekels down on that, as the kids say.
You ain't lying.
All right, so what's our records coming into the week?
I'm waiting on this Google Doc to refresh.
We'll get there eventually. They were worse after Thursday because the Rams beat the Vikings because we didn't know when we picked that game. Well, actually, no, we didn't pick that game. Which is actually a good thing for our records because I think that we both would have picked Minnesota. Whoopsie daisies. I definitely got this game wrong. Eagles 37, Bengals 17. Jalen Hurts, a tidy 16 for 20, 236 and a touchdown. Saquon, 22 for 108. I will give us a little bit of credit in that had I known T. Higgins wasn't going to play, I would have been more inclined to pick Philadelphia. I probably still wouldn't have, so it's not like I'm asking for any leniency here, but not having T. Higgins is a big deal for this team. They didn't look nearly as good in the first couple of weeks of the season without Higgins. He came back against Washington. Obviously, Cincinnati's offense took off a little bit. He goes out on Friday, pulls his hamstring, I think it was, and then all of a sudden, 37-17, the Bengals offense looks like a mess. They can't stop anything defensively. Bengals are in trouble.
They are in trouble, and I tried to tell you, Craig. Them Eagles, man. Hey, look, they're just now finding their group. They're trying to figure out what works for them. Saquon,
running the ball 39 times. That's what works for them.
Yes, that's what they should be doing. And I don't know why they haven't. I understand you paid Hurts all that money, but guess what? Run the ball. The Chiefs paid Patrick Mahomes $55 million, and guess what he's doing? He's handing the ball off. And quiet as it's kept, he's not having a fantastic season, but guess what? They're getting the job done. They're stacking wins.
Winning is the point. Also, get the ball to your playmakers. Devontae Smith, 7 targets. A.J. Brown, 6. Anthony, can you do that math? 7 plus 6?
13.
Out of 20 targets in the game. So that's well over 50%. Yeah. That is 65%, I think.
Yes, that's very good math, Craig.
Thank you. You know, you can also add up 1 L on my picks. This we both missed as well because holy crap. Ravens, Browns 29, Ravens 24. Lamar had some monster moments in this game, but at the end of the day, Cleveland just kept coming back. Lamar 22 of 38 for 289 and 2 touchdowns, but Jameis goes 27 for 41, 3 touchdowns. And what was, by the way, a very emotional day for the Browns. They lost their longtime play-by-play man, Jim Donovan. He had been battling cancer. He retired before the season. Our pal Andrew Siciliano took over this season. And if you have not seen the video of Andrew and his broadcast partner at the end, literally fighting back tears and not winning that fight when Jameis, and them walk it off or when pull it off. And then ultimately Lamar can't quite get the last bit of magic to go. Very emotional day in Cleveland. Chubb looks better, but still has a long way to go. 16 carries, 52 yards. But now Jameis Winston has more 300 yards passing games as a Brown than Deshaun Watson does in his Browns career.
That's actually insane. But the Ravens losing this one, definitely surprising. I watched majority of this game because I was at home at first, and then came on down to the to Northwest Field. But Kyle Hamilton drops a would-be game
Yes.
ending interception. And I don't know, maybe just for flag football's sake anyway, if you drop an interception or anything along those lines, I promise you, Craig, the next play there will be a touchdown. I've seen this too many times. And maybe it happens in the NFL as well. But
yeah,
it just
happens
crazy, man.
all the time. Like I saw that happen. I was like, uh-oh.
They're about to score next play. And guess what they did?
Oh, next
Bombs
play.
away.
Ravens, I mean, they're 5-3.
Yeah.
Baltimore has played better football than basically everyone in the NFL, probably. Like, they played more great football this year than everyone else. They have a worse record than the Commanders.
Yeah. Oh, dang. Well, yeah, you put it like that. Yeah.
5-3. I mean, that's not me saying they're the Commanders are a better football team, but like Washington 6-2, Baltimore's 5-3. They've lost 2 bad games.
Yeah.
Bad. I mean, the Chiefs win. Chiefs at the beginning of the year, fine. The Raiders game, that's a bad loss.
Yeah.
This Cleveland game, like, I'm sorry. Cleveland's going to be better with Winston, but that's a bad loss.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad losses, oh my God, did the Lions beat the ever-living bleep out of the Titans. 52-14, and they didn't score in the fourth quarter. It was just like, can we end this thing now? They scored 14 in the first, 21 in the second, 17 in the third. Jared Goff was 12 of 15 for 85 yards and 3 touchdowns in the game. What a dumb stat line.
Yeah.
12 for 15, 85, 3 touchdowns. Hey, my quarterback threw for 85 yards, and it was an awesome fantasy day. That's what Jared Goff did. Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 carries, 127 yards, including a 70-yarder. They also scored on a trick play where David Montgomery found Sam Laporta for a touchdown. Khalif Raymond has a touchdown catch and a 90-yard kick return. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown had 7 yards in this game receiving, Anthony, and they won 52-14.
Yeah, I have him in my fantasy. He didn't do much, but he did get in the box. So I was definitely happy about that. But their running attack, man, David Montgomery, there's only been one game this season that he hasn't scored a touchdown. So if to be honest, Craig, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to bet next week, and I'm going to bet David Montgomery to score a touchdown.
So he probably won't.
Oh, my gosh.
That's what
We've
happens,
turned over
man.
a new leaf this year, Craig. We've turned over a new leaf.
That's not an Anthony-specific thing.
Guess what?
That is how gambling works. That's
You
how
might
they
be
win.
right. You might be right. You might be right.
The Lions, by the way, this has to. I gotta have someone look this up. The Lions scored 52 points and ran 47 plays. How? They scored more points than they ran plays.
Yeah.
That's not supposed to be how that works. How many times in NFL history has that happened?
Probably not often.
Paging Elias Sports Bureau. Paging Elias Sports Bureau. Dolphins, Cardinals. Dolphins offense looked better, but their problem is their defense still exists. Cardinals 28, Dolphins 27. Road win. Chad Ryland, the walk-off field goal after Kyler Murray goes 26 of 36 for 307 and 2 touchdowns. Trey McBride, what a difference he makes for Arizona. You know, Washington, we were just talking on the break, Anthony, of how this Arizona win looks better and better for Washington as the Cardinals are now 4-4, and they've beaten some good teams, but they beat them without Trey McBride, and he is low-key one of the most important guys in football to his specific team. McBride, 9 catches, 124 yards. Marvin Harrison, 6 for 111 and a touchdown. Mike Wilson, 5 catches, 31 yards and a touchdown as well. And Tua in his return, 28 of 38, 234 and a touchdown. They need to be more efficient offensively. They can't be averaging 6 yards a completion. And then rushing-wise, like 25 for 150 is a good day, but you got to get some stops on the other end and ultimately down go the Dolphins. They're a 2-win team on the year. And by the way, Washington has their 3rd-round pick.
Yes, we do. And, yeah, this was surprising. I also expected Tyreek Hill to go off. I mean, he didn't have the biggest day, but I don't know, man. That offense is going to start with him, making explosive plays. And you got to credit the Cardinals for, keeping them in check to an extent.
So, obviously, the most enjoyable game of the day for me and for everybody
oh my God.
Is Commanders-Bears. But the second most enjoyable game of the day is Patriots-Jets. Patriots 25, Jets 22. Aaron Rodgers 17 of 28, 233 and 2 touchdowns. He has a pretty solid day, but Drake May, who gets knocked out of this game, concussion, gives way to Jacoby Brissett. No touchdowns, Ramondre Stevenson, he's got 2 on the ground. May scored 1 on the ground before he left. And that's good enough for New England to get things done. I mean, they just couldn't finish drives offensively for New York. And do you have that crazy stat, Anthony, that you sent me earlier?
I just poured it up. So
read it and weep.
In NFL history, teams are 750-1, including the playoffs, when generating a box score that includes you scoring 20 points, at least 20 points, not having a turnover in the game, and your team allowing fewer than 250 yards. And sadly enough, the New York Jets are the one team that lost on Sunday.
750. So this has happened 751 times, and one team has lost, and it's Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Same old Jets, genuinely hilarious. I love it so much. I am in such a petty mood today. This is joyous. All my pettiness has come to play.
Greg, I must apologize.
Why?
Because
you
so much.
convinced me to take the Jets here.
Well, yeah, you took the Jets.
Oh, okay.
But you also said Patriots +7. So
I did.
If you did bet that. But also, I just must apologize for the Aaron Rodgers praise that I gave at the beginning of the year. I take that back because I really thought this Jets team was a quarterback away, and
he's not good enough.
No. They're doing better. They did better with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Just saying.
I don't know if I go that far.
They had 4 wins, Craig.
Oh, wins, yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
They have organizational problems.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say that. All right, we get back. We'll get to the back half of the schedule where Anthony and I actually picked games correctly. That's next on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. In the chat, by the way, folks catching up on the rant from 5:15, Anthony. The full never read the comments Chicago Bears fans who couldn't shut up experience. And Steven says, damn, Craig just went Stephen A. Smith on them Bears. Steven, give me a little more credit than that. At least I was creative and funny and thoughtful. I didn't just yell.
You don't think Steven is a little creative sometimes?
Sometimes he is.
He's a funny guy, though.
He can be funny. Sometimes on purpose. Often not on purpose. Anyway, back we go around the NFL. The rest of our... Anthony, have you been able to tally, by the way? Both find our records coming in, and how are we doing so far? Go into the back half of the schedule here.
So you have a 2-game lead over me. You are 68-38. I am 56-40.
Okay.
And today, you are 1-4. I'm 2-3.
Okay. So one game going into the afternoon session.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is where things take a turn for the better for me, I do believe.
I'm joking.
I don't know that I missed another game. Falcons, Buccaneers. Falcons 31, Bucks 26. Baker Mayfield, that dude, he tries his face off. 37 of 50. 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kirk, 4 touchdowns, no picks. The turnover is the difference in the game. They went down swinging, and the Bucs made a valiant comeback near the end, but they just don't have enough right now with Evans and Godwin out. Cade Otton, a big day for me and my fantasy team. 2 touchdown catches for the tight end, but 2 touchdown catches for Kyle Pitts and his 4 catches as well, including a 49-yarder, and the Falcons get the win.
Yeah, the fact the Bucs even made this a game, salute to those guys going out there. Baker, man, he's putting up numbers, dog. Numbers every week.
Is he the NFL's lead? I wonder if he's – I'd have to check. Because Gino –
Wasn't it Gino?
Gino was.
But it might be Baker now.
Yeah, I got to check. That dude's having a whale of a season. I mean, the problem is it's so much on him that he's got 3 touchdowns, 2 picks every single week. Hard to win that way. Hard to win when your quarterback turns the football over. Cue up the Jacksonville Jaguars. Packers 30, Jags 27. Weird game in Jacksonville. Lawrence has a terrible turnover late in this one.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Malik Willis comes in late and throws a touchdown pass. Nice little design from Matt LaFleur after Jordan Love goes out hurt again. Love, who signed the big contract, obviously, in the offseason, 14-22, no touchdowns, a pick before he leaves. Willis comes in and goes 4 for 5 for 56 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we should probably talk about Josh Jacobs. 25 for 127. He's the story of the game.
Yeah, he was going federal. He had a 38-yard TD run. He had 2 touchdowns, I think.
He did.
Yeah, so, again, he's going to have to carry them, especially if Jordan Love continues to struggle. Another game with another interception. It's getting ridiculous, man. Take care of the ball.
But he also might be out for a while, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Colts made it close. Ultimately, too much for the Texans. In a game where they lose Stephon Diggs, we'll see for how long. 23-20 is the final here. Colts fall to 4-4. Texans 6-2. Stroud 25-37, 285 and a touchdown. But the story is the other quarterback. Anthony Richardson does some of the coolest things you'll ever see a quarterback do. The problem is literally all the other plays. He is 10 for 32 in this game. In some ways, it's impressive. He's 10 for 32 for 175. 10 for 32 for 175. That means he averaged 17.5 yards of completion. The problem is he threw 22 incompletions. And in one of the key plays, sequences of the game, in the red zone, he takes himself out because he got tired. I've never seen a quarterback do that before. What a weird day.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I saw him running around. Granted, he did run around for a good 10, 12 seconds, but dude, you're the quarterback. You never can come out of the game. I don't care what happens.
Just call a run play in the huddle and say you heard the wrong thing.
Something. You cannot do that. You can't give opportunities for Joe Flacco to come in, and now he has an opportunity at your job. Steichen, you heard him earlier.
Steichen today said we're evaluating everything.
Man.
He started this game 2 for 15. The problem was I think his third completion was like one of the sickest throws of the year. Was that the Downs touchdown?
Yeah, Downs.
It was like, what is that?
But his receivers also, like, to his defense, they had some drops.
There were some drops.
But he had too many bad throws and reads, though.
You're just like, what are you doing, man? It is. I know he's young and he's super inexperienced, and if he's gonna work, he needs reps. But dude,
man,
it is bad. Speaking of bad offense, holy crap! Chargers 26, Saints 8. This game was 5-2 at one point.
Yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty.
Or, sorry,
nasty.
5-3, I believe.
No, it's 5-2.
It was 5-2.
Yeah.
Were there 2 safeties in this game?
No, it was 1.
Then how did they get to 5?
It was 3. Oh, it's 5-3.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay. My bad.
Yeah. Ladd McConkey, 6 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both the touchdowns from Justin Herbert, who went 20 of 32 for 279. Poor Alvin Kamara, 10 carries, 67 yards. He's about all they had offensively. Saints fans suddenly praying for Derek Carr's return.
Yeah, they need him back bad.
Not good. Josh Allen, what I tell you, he's on a heater. 24 of 34, 283, 2 touchdowns. Finally threw an interception for the first time in some absurd number of throws. James Cook, 17 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Seahawks just absolutely get blown out at home, 31-10. Any notes from this game? This gets into the part of the schedule that we were otherwise occupied.
Yeah, I have nothing on this game. Gino, yeah.
They need DK Metcalf back. That's a different team with or without him.
They need by the way, OC or something. Man.
They just got a new OC.
What's a lot going on? They need They need to fix some things.
Yeah, I mean, Gino's also like he's Geno Smith. He's not Pat Mahomes, and I know a lot of people love Geno Smith, but like he's still Geno, which very good, not a great quarterback, is what it is. Broncos 28, Panthers 14. I respect Sean Payton for 2 things he did. One, there was criticism that he was running up the score, and he's just like, we're trying to finish games. You want to make that point with your team? That's fine. I also respected Sean Payton, frankly, more. And by the way, I am no Sean Payton fan. But when he was asked about his defense playing well, he basically goes, yeah, that's not a good offense. That's a Tell the Truth Monday that he did on Sunday night.
Dang, that is bold.
What's he supposed to say? I mean, congrats. Bryce Young came back and threw 2 touchdowns.
Say it though, man.
He could have been nicer about it.
Yeah.
You could say like, hey, they're really banged up right now. Like, I feel bad for Dave, but like that's not a very good offense. They got a lot of stuff that they're fighting through. Like, you could say that, or you could just be straight up and be like, yeah, that's not a good offense. Is what it is. Chiefs 27, Raiders 20. Xavier Worthy gets in the end zone, and for the first time this year, Travis Kelce got in the end zone. 10 catches, 90 yards. For Kelce, the Chiefs get their revenge after the Raiders beat them on Christmas last year and then talked a bunch of junk in the offseason. The Raiders fall to 2-6.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought the Raiders were going to mess around and actually steal that game. Again, they're the last team to beat the Chiefs, and it was close. And then, the Chiefs did what they needed to do.
They always find a way. In the end, Mahomes, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Obviously, we talked about Commanders and Bears. That was a fun game. And then Niners Cowboys got close late, but it was mostly not. 30-24 is the final. Jordan Mason got banged up, and so Kyle Shanahan's just like, all right, who's the next running back that runs to rush for nearly 100 yards? Isaac Guarendo, 14 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown for him. Purdy, 18 of 26 for 260. Kittle, a big day, 6 for 128. Meanwhile, outside of CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys' offense is dead. Lamb had 146 yards on 13 catches on 17 targets. That's insane. 17 of the 38 passes that Dak Prescott threw. Their running game, trash. The Cowboys. And then, by the way, Diggs after the game yelling at my guy Mike Leslie for questioning. Diggs said, his effort was being questioned. Leslie was just like, what is he doing on this play? And he could have said, like, hey, I got contained on whatever, but he didn't. He just didn't hustle hard enough. And that'd be that. Then I don't think I can repeat what he said to Mike on the radio.
Yeah.
It was the old D's joke.
Yep.
Yeah. Not good. Things are not good in Dallas.
Not good. They are banged up on the defensive line, but, man, they're banged up all over the place, to be honest.
Yeah. Not good for the Cowboys, and players complaining about everything. All right, that's our trip around the NFL. We are both on the Steelers tonight. Anthony, I do believe I got that correct. I don't think I lost another game in that after the break. That's not why I took a break after that game, but
Yeah, you won 8 straight, Craig. You got 8 straight right.
and those idiots in the comments said I don't know ball. God, I'm petty today. What is wrong with me? All right, pick 6 next. Get back to Commanders and Bears. And then Dave Johnson joins us because it's a Wizards game day here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980, where you see Anthony dancing along to there's a Meek Mill song playing, and people on the internet don't know that because they can't hear it.
That's my jam.
Actually, they might be able to hear that one, depending on how you played it. I don't know. Yeah. The point is, it's time for the Pick Six.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick Six at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level, build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
All right, this is an interesting Pick Six, Anthony, in part because we spent so much time talking about the Hail Mary and how the game ends that I still don't know that I have a great feel for a lot of the detail of this game. But on a surface level, let's see what we can decipher out here.
Number 1.
Brian Robinson was definitely a key in this game. He is the reason that Washington looked like they might run away from this or with this game early. And then ultimately a reason, like his lack of production later in the game, is why this became a game at the end. Washington just could not finish drives, and part of it was the running game dying after the first drive of the game. On that first drive of the game, Robinson had 5 carries for 35 yards. He had 15 for 30 the rest of the game. So this is one of those that I'm very, I don't know if excited is, I mean, I guess because they won, I'm excited. But I'm intrigued to watch the tape because as someone who has only watched one series on the All-22 so far in this, and that was Washington's first offensive series, sure seems like Brian Robinson was going to have a big day. And then, and now we know that he kind of stalled out in this game. And again, I should say his production stalled out, whether that was on him or the line, or it's something that Chicago was doing well, like TBD. But he definitely was a huge key in this one as to why Washington didn't put more points on the board and have offense that was productive and able to sustain drives in the second half.
Yeah, I was a little confused as well. But I guess the fact that the Bears sort of kind of limited, what he could do. I feel like the Bears defense was so fast in terms of like there would be a hole and the next thing you know, it was closing so fast. So I think that's in part to like, why B-Rob wasn't able to get off. But if our offense is going to excel, we're going to need, B-Rob and Austin Eckler. We're going to need success on the ground. And I think we didn't have a lot of success offensively because we was so often in like 3rd and long as opposed to like 3rd and short, which we were so accustomed to.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that was a huge key is the offense later in this game was just in bad down and distances a lot. And it's hard to overcome that stuff. And Jayden has done a tremendous job of doing it at times this year and even did some of these drives. But when you have to drive 90 yards all the time because the Torrey Taylor, the punter for Chicago, is ridiculous, you can drive 50 and still have to wind up punting yourself. So not ideal offensively for
number 2
for Washington. On Chicago's side of it, DJ Moore. He somehow just scored on the Commanders again in 2023. But in 2024, not nearly as productive. 2 for 27. One of those is an unbelievable throw by Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter on that corner route. Just absolutely sick throw. The other one is on the 4th and short where Caleb decides he's going to throw the smoke to Moore, which I don't honestly mind because DJ Moore's really good after the catch. And if you got to tell me I got him versus Benjamin St. Juste for a foot in space, I'd probably take DJ Moore there. And Juste did a tremendous job of holding him up. Great late close right before the snap to make it so that it actually was the incorrect read by Caleb because Caleb looked out, saw space, takes the snap, or looks back down, takes the snap. By the time he looked down, Juste had closed like 5 yards, and then he shoots it. And then Luvu comes and finishes the play, but that was it. That was 4 targets, 2 catches, one's a 4th down stop, and then another's the sickest throw of the game. They did a tremendous job on DJ Moore.
Yeah, we definitely did. I also think Caleb missed a lot of throws early on, which may have been because of the pressure we had on him or, just him throwing off platform. But yeah, for us to like keep him in check for a majority of that game, that was huge, man. And that fourth and 1, I promise you, Craig, I saw St. Juice sneaking up the entire time. If they throw the opposite way, because Forbes, he just stood there. He didn't creep up. But super shout out to Forbes, Louvu closing and keeping that guy in check. And I was so happy Mikey didn't give up the fade ball, because that would have been, oh my gosh, that would have been crazy if he would have been able to come down with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's good defense. That was kind of a sick throw by Caleb to get that ball up as high as he did. But it's also just a stupid call. Just hand the ball to the running back. Like, what are we doing? Man, just the play calling for Chicago, situationally and down in, down out.
Yeah.
What a nightmare Shane Waldron was in that game.
Number 3.
So I picked a couple guys that no one had ever heard of around these parts, and that's no disrespect to them. It's just like they're backups on the Chicago Bears. There aren't a lot of backups that people know in the league. But when Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker were ruled out, we said, hey, Josh Blackwell and Elijah Hicks, you're the next guys up. So how did they play in this game? Obviously, Chicago's defense played pretty well in this game overall. But if you want to look at grades in this one for PFF, which is about as good as we can do in terms of a comprehensive look, of the 19 players that played defensive snaps in this game for Chicago, 18th out of 19th was Elijah Hicks. 16th out of 19th was Josh Blackwell. For Blackwell, had a couple of missed tackles. That brings his grade way down to 28.9 tackling grade. That's red. That is bad. Hicks just kind of bad across the board, specifically, though, in coverage, 37.5. So they really, really missed on the ability to not get a ton of pressure. Like, that was a big deal outside of Sweat, who was phenomenal. Darrell Taylor actually did a nice job, too. 52, had 7 pressures in this game. But they couldn't blitz like they normally do because of Gordon. There's a lot of other stuff that Brisker does that was really good that they missed. And these two dudes played a ton. They played 74 and 52 snaps, respectively, Hicks and Blackwell, and they didn't play particularly well.
Yeah, I remember Hicks getting a holding penalty on Terry. But outside of that, I mean, overall, I think their back end played pretty solid, to be honest. They gave up a few explosives. But to be filling in for Brisker, Gordon, I think they played all right.
Yeah, all right. I mean, look, the defense as a whole made it work, but at the end of the day, like, obviously they needed one more play. As for the last three in our pick 6, we'll get to them next. Andrew Wiley, Dante Fowler, Jeremy Chin. But first, let's get an update on the latest in the world of women's sports, presented by Wawa. Gotta have a Wawa. All right, let's pick up our pick 6 here on the Hoffman Show as we continue to break down the Commanders-Bears game. Just an epic, unbelievable win by Washington before we turn our attention to the old Zardos who play Atlanta tonight. You can, of course, listen to that game here on the Team 980 with pregame starting right after us at 7 o'clock. And it'll be our first edition of the Game Day Dave Johnson, with us here for the season. So with that, let's get into it with
Number 4.
Number 4, Anthony, we selected Andrew Wiley, which I believe was your pick.
Yes, Wiley was my pick just because he was going to be matched up with former Washington player Montez Sweat. And I think for the most part, I will say, there were times in the game where Wiley was by himself and Montez beat him like a drum. I know on the first drive, Jalen got flushed out of the pocket.
Dude, that would hurt. Luke was so open. Chicago busted coverage. And McCaffrey is wide open. Now, the flow of the play was going the other way, and Jayden kind of flushed away from it, but Luke was looping back, so I kind of think there was some design element there. That is a brutally tough block. That's the kind of thing they don't ask Wiley to do a lot. And I think it was also, there was like a line slide, and Wiley was on the man side of the protection. Yeah. And he's just literally, like the whole line slides away from him. And now he's one-on-one in space with Jayden running around behind him, and he doesn't know where Jayden is. That is a tough
But he
block.
was beat literally
but he got
one
beat.
Step in.
Yeah, but he got beat real fast, real bad.
Yeah, and then I guess the sack Montez had later in the game, I'm not sure if that's all on Wiley. I think we get a chip, but Jayden just holds the ball too long.
I don't remember.
But outside of that, I think we did a good job on Montez. We even tripped him up on the read option. Jayden was able to, keep the ball, extend it, get the first down. But yeah, we kept him in check. I just didn't want one of those games where, our former player of ours has a career day and they end up winning the game kind of thing.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to someone earlier today, and they're like, dang, Montez Sweat is good. And I'm like, yeah, they didn't let him go because he was a bad football player. They let him go because they could get a second-round pick for him, and they turned that second-round pick. That's the one they traded, and they turned into, what, Sinnott, Sainer Still, and
Newton?
Or was that Luke?
Luke is a third.
Yeah, but like they turned that into, it was 2 seconds and another pick. Like they turned that into 3 dudes.
Yeah.
It was Coleman.
Oh yeah, it was Coleman.
So like they got a lot from Montez Sweat, which is good because you better get a lot from Montez Sweat because that dude's a good ass football player.
Yeah, endless pressure.
And it was also he was due a bunch of money and the whole thing. Like they know Montez Sweat's a good football player, but long term, like they'll be all right without him. They'll go find someone else. But Wiley, I think overall did an okay job. The funniest thing from Andrew Wiley from the game was he was a part of some of the chippiness, and there was one play that he missed because he went down faking an injury. It looked like because he just dove, and then he was like, "Oh, I stayed down too long. Now I have to come out of the game." But he was trying to draw a flag. Because Chicago was doing stuff after the whistle, and I guess the refs weren't calling it. So he's like, "I better embellish." Didn't quite work out for him. Nah. But it was funny for those of us that noticed, which includes Mitch Tischler. We might just talk about that for 30 minutes tomorrow. We're not going to do that. Don't worry.
Number 5.
Dante Fowler was next up, and Fowler, after a couple of great weeks, kind of had a quiet game in this one.
Yeah.
Unless I'm forgetting something here.
No, you're not.
Dante Fowler grades out in this game at a 58 for Washington. His tackling grade 24.9, so he clearly missed a couple. Pass rush grade only a 60.3. For all the pressures that Washington got, he's responsible for just 3 of them out of the 25 pressures, which, hey, maybe he would have gotten some if the other guys weren't so darn good. And clearly he's doing something right. But, I said, like, you can get these tackles. And I will say, for all of the pressure that Washington got, a lot of it came from design stuff and the inside. It's not where I expected it to happen. So, we've been, I think, pretty good, Anthony, so far this year about being very on with our predictiveness in terms of who we think is going to be important to games. And this one, just some unexpected stuff kind of happened. Fedarian Mathis is someone we wrote down as like hey, by the way, keep an eye on Fedarian. And he's the lowest graded player that PFF graded for Washington. He just wasn't as big of a factor in this game. He had a couple of run stuffs that I remember. But it really was like Johnny Newton was outstanding in this game. Deron Payne was really good in this game. Cleveland Ferrell was good in this game. Wagner and Luvu were really, really good at times. Man, if Luvu could have just finished 2 sacks, like this is a totally different game. Some of the plays that Caleb's able to make off schedule. So lo and behold, like it was the other guys that wound up getting it done. But in a way, it's kind of nice because you feel almost at a point now where someone's going to get the job done, and that's not how we felt about this unit. Not that they can't use a stud. Not that if a great pass rusher was available, I wouldn't consider it if I'm Adam Peters. But it feels like they can at least baseline get some pressure, and they pressured Caleb on 61% of his snaps. Like they found ways, even if it wasn't the ones that we predicted.
Yeah, but when we pressure and, Caleb's able to, maneuver in the manner in which he is, and we're not able to get him and he's extending the play 10, 12 seconds, I'm not sure what to do in those situations.
Well, he didn't extend any plays 12 seconds because the only play that has been 12 seconds
that was a
snap to throw in the next-gen stats era is Jayden bleeping Daniels on that Hail Mary. That's a real stat, by the way. I don't know if you did that on purpose to set me up, but
I didn't.
Okay, well, it worked. Last but not least,
number 6.
Jeremy Chin was fantastic in this game. He was the last guy that we selected, and I liked Chin. Or did you select Chin here?
I selected Chin.
I think you did, but you did it for a different reason than the one I would have selected Chin, because he was like next on my list, which is I thought he was going to be awesome on Cole Kmet potentially, and he was. Kmet didn't have a catch until very, very late in this game. Why did you have? Remind me why you had Jeremy Chin selected.
So in part was Cole Kmet for sure. You had gave us a stat coming into the game. Cole Kmet, in terms of being targeted, efficient, 26 catches on 29 targets. So definitely wanted to try to take that away, but also limit DeAndre Swift and what he can do when he gets out into space. And going back to the play where Swift has that 56-yard touchdown run, Chin is there. He sort of kind of gets undercut by like 3, 4, 5 people, and he's not able to, make the tackle. So I don't necessarily fault him for missing the tackle, but he was there. And outside of that run for real, we had DeAndre Swift in check until the fourth quarter, where I guess they were tired, they were gassed, and he was able to get off some of those explosive runs.
He technically outside of, if you take the one long one out on his other 17 carries, he averaged 4.2. It didn't feel like that.
I think it's because that fourth quarter, though, he had like 2 big runs.
Better.
He had 2 big runs in the fourth.
That's true. But he was the 56-yarder takes it from a 4.2 average or 4.3 average to a 7.2 average.
Yeah.
And Kmet kept his efficiency, but Chin was so on him, he only had 1 target. That was his only target of the game, was the one that he caught.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think by and large, like they did a really good job. Chin's involved in a lot of that. I thought one of the interesting things, and actually let me see if I can just check this real quick. Snap count wise, Quan Martin typically plays every single snap.
He was coming out.
Yeah, he and Percy Butler were rotating in this game, including in some big situations late.
Well, it's not cool to speculate like injury, but when
I don't know whether it was injury related or whether it was just like they like Percy in certain situations better.
Because the big hit on DJ Moore after that play, that's when Quan came out, and I'm not sure if it had to do with the shoulder. I'm not sure what it was.
He has been battling through, so
so
it's something to maybe follow up on with DQ on Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right, next here on the Hoffman Show, we got our guy, the legend, Dave Johnson, joining us every single Wizards game day this season. So we have a couple of orders of business to get to with Dave. We need to pick a new song for him for his intro. So we will let you hear the intro that we made for Dave last year one final time. We will retire it today. And then when he joins us coming up again because they don't play again tomorrow, right? It's Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
They play the Hawks back-to-back games, but it's not back-to-back days.
Yep.
So, yes, Wednesday, we will have Dave's new intro ready to go. So we'll retire the 2023 intro for Dave. We'll talk to him about the 2 wins, or the 2 games that the Wizards have played so far, and then we'll get you ready for the 1 versus 2 Sarr versus Research matchup. Hey, 1 versus 2 yesterday, Caleb versus Jayden. Maybe it ends on a Hail Mary tonight. We'll see. I'll run that theory by Dave next on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, your home for Washington Wizards basketball on a Wizards game day here on the Team 980. And we are bringing back a tradition here for year number 3. Tradition, I don't know if the tradition's the right word. It certainly is, but just we're bringing back a feature. This is definitely a feature, definitely not a bug. Each and every Wizards game day that we're on the air here on the Team 980, we're going to lead you into the game, into the pregame coverage, about a half an hour beforehand, assuming that it's an East Coast game, with the legendary play-by-play voice of the Washington Wizards, my great friend, Dave Johnson. Dave, it is always a pleasure to welcome you to the show, sir. Welcome back for Season 3 of us doing this.
And it's so kind because I know this is the Monday after they hail Maryland, and I thought about this last night as we were having a dinner here and talking about our season so far, and we're all so happy for the Commanders. But as you know, for 30 years I did Morning Drive and never had a story like that to report. We were always trying to figure out how to spin the Commanders news. In fact, I've had so much experience in spin, I probably should be like in charge of my own big Washington lobby firm making millions of dollars. But instead, I'm doing what I love, and that's Wizards basketball and being with you. But that just is why we love sports. It's why we show up tonight. Maybe there'll be a last-second buzzer beater. No, we're not going to win the NBA title tonight or whatever, but it's unscripted. And obviously yesterday was unscripted. And it's why we do what we do. Let's face it. It's, the other night, Freddie Freeman hits that grand slam home run. The dreams become reality in all these games that we're a part of, and that's why we show up every night. It's a nice escape from all the real stuff that's going on.
No, you say it all the time, and I definitely was, as we were thinking about the show today, and I was thinking about the fact that you were capping it off, I thought about the way that you always talk about that. And then, hey, what do you know, Dave? We got a number 1 versus number 2 pick tonight, so you never know what's going to happen, and we can see some kind of beautiful poetic symmetry. But before we get to that, Dave, you know that there's a piece of business that we have to handle, which is we always build you your special own introduction to the show. You and Brian have been nice enough to send over a plethora of highlights for us to go to. And we need to, first of all, we're going to play last year's intro one more time to retire it because it served us well. It was great. But as it plays, Dave, I would like for you to be thinking about what song is going to replace it. So for one last time, everybody, let's make sure that Dave gets a proper introduction 2023 style before we officially turn the page to 2024.
Time to get the radio party started.
Blocked by Bilal Coulibaly. Oh boy, did he stuff him. Left wing pull, it's there. Oh, that's a pool party. Near the basket, slam right there. And the steal and the slam. You better go off. Intercepted by Kispert. Kispert now, foul line. Oh, slam. Ooh, that'll jar your preserves.
It's time for Dave Johnson on a Wizards game day.
Kuzma for 3. Oh, it's there. It's there. Big shot.
On the Hoffman Show.
So that, Dave, was a song that we pulled out of the DMV music portal, which is coming back, I've heard, this year. And we'll include a track by Marvin Bagley, which is pretty cool. Obviously, we have to retire that because, 1, it's last year's, and 2, there's a Denny Advia highlight. Although everyone else was still here, so we did a good job on picking the highlights for the long-term guys. But, Dave, typically you just pass this back to me, but do you have any requests for music for 2024?
Well, again, you got me on the spot. I'm going to pass it back to you.
Okay. I knew that was going to happen, but at the very least, people know that I asked.
Right. No, you do it. I'm going to pass it back to you because I rely on you to make me hipper than hip.
We'll do our best, Dave. We'll absolutely do our best. I was thinking about potentially going a classic route this year. So Wednesday, during your visit, you will have your 2024 proper introduction. As for the games that we have been played so far, obviously in the end, 2 20-point losses for the Wizards, but I do feel like they're a little bit different than some of the losses at the beginning of last year. What are some things that you like that you saw in these first 2 games from the Wizards? And then what are the things that then need to get cleaned up to close the gap to obviously start turning this into some winning basketball?
Well, and again, the goal is to win. It's just that they haven't. And by the way, playing the Celtics and Cavaliers losses to those 2 teams, no shame. But I was talking to Johnny Davis about this in the elevator, and something Kashawn George said in preseason, and it is really true about this group, that last year, as we know, it was a 15-win team, but I enjoyed being around that team more than I enjoyed being around some teams that won more games, just because they were excited and ready to go and ready to play every night. And quite frankly, I've seen that in the first two games. Look, if the Celtics, if we can huff and puff and do all the right things, but if they make 17 threes and the Wizards only make 6 threes, then it's probably not going to end well, or 7 threes, whatever it was. And you know, it was kind of a repeat performance against the Cavaliers. They were competitive until they weren't. But you know, you take things, and this is the way people are going to have to be with us on this journey. We say, all right, Alex Sarr against Evan Mobley. When those two are matched up, Mobley was 0 for 5, and Sarr also blocked 1 shot against him. And his block was a big-time rejection. So those are games within the game that you get excited about because we told you going before the start of this season, this was not going to be a playoff season, and we're not, you know, saying, well, it'll be a success if we get 30 wins or 20 wins. I mean, nobody's putting numbers on it. It's boring in terms of it's about what I just said, day-to-day metrics. You know, Jordan Poole is among the league leaders in deflections, not just his offense. So what I'm seeing is a team that obviously is young. Again, the starting lineup, the first 2 games averaged 22 years. The youngest starting lineup in team history, or since they were tracking that stat back in 1970, and you know that basically is team history because this team only goes back to 1963. So I think we're encouraged, and I was out to dinner last night with John Thompson III, and you know, Keyshawn George, nobody was talking about, and you know, the moment's not too big for him. He had, you know, 4 steals the other night. The rookie class is the big thing. You know, Bub Carrington has not shot well yet, but you know, he's Sam Cassell tough, if I give a Baltimore reference there. And Alex Sarr, we have a matchup between number 1 and number 2 tonight. And by the way, I've been warned Alex Sarr will get booed because he didn't want to work out in Atlanta, even though the popular thinking was they were not going to draft him anyway. You know, this is what has to happen for the Wizards. When you're going through a rebuilding and you go with young players, you're going to play young players. You know what? They have to be hits. They have to be draft picks that you hit on. It's not as simple as just losing and then you flick a switch. Ask Detroit. We go right down the line. Post Michael Jordan with Chicago. It took them 7 years to turn it around. We're not on a 7-year plan. We're trying to get this turned around into a direction where we're a contender, a serious contender. But no, we're not trying. This is not a 7-year plan. I can't put an exact number on what the years are, but I can tell you it's not 7. And you're going to have success if already early on you're saying, you know what, there's something to this rookie class.
Yeah, it has been cool, I think, to see BK play them as well with the minutes load. And that was one thing that I know got frustrating for the front office last year was the lack of experimentation. And something that I liked about Brian in the second half of the season was finding ways to make sure that these guys get minutes and get reps and get exposure, but also not overexposing them in terms of their role. One of the guys who's going to be key to that, of course, Dave, is Kyle Kuzma, who has had 2 really poor shooting games. I think it's great to see that his rebounding number was up in the second game versus the first one. But what has Kyle said so far about his slow start shooting and offensively to the season?
You know, really has not said a lot. It's just that, you know, it's not going to – it can't continue. His past history tells you it's going to click on. It's disappointing, no doubt, to him. It's disappointing to us when you think about, again, trying to, you know, really make the Cavaliers and Celtics squirm more and make it more competitive in the second half. You do need your veterans. And you know, Kyle Kuzma just the numbers say what they are. And we need him scoring. And so you hope tonight it's a night that the shots start falling. You know, quite frankly, he did not have good preseason shooting. So it was, as we went through preseason, we kept saying, all right, well, click. Now, if we're still having this conversation, 10 games from now, 5 games from now, I think I'll start to worry. 2 games in, not so much, but that's got to click. I mean, he's got to score. Jordan Poole has come out, as I mentioned, really picking up where he left off. Where it showed last season reminded all of us that you construct a team on paper, but that's not how they play. And so they put Jordan Poole in a situation in the second part of the year, if you remember, where he was coming off the bench first because we still had Tyus Jones as a starting point guard, and we brought Jordan Poole off the bench. Well, now, that was part of the decision not to keep Tyus Jones. Jordan Poole has the ball in his hands, and we're seeing what he can do. We talk about these young guys, and I mentioned the rookie class. Well, how about Bilal Coulibaly? In his second game of his second season, he gets his career high 23 points, and but the way he's getting them, he's, and this is something we talked about on the Michelob Ultra postgame show with former Georgetown star Chris Wright. We want him to have more N1s because he is stronger. He can attack and get to the basket and force defenders into awkward positions and finish. He had a great N1 Saturday against Cleveland. So, 23 points Saturday. What's tonight going to be like? And that's going to be part of the excitement all season long as we just continue to discover. This is a season of discovery. Coulibaly is only in his second year. These rookies, again, when we're talking 19, 20-year-olds, you could take 3 players' ages, add them up, and you still don't even get my age. So that's how I feel old, but I'm energized by the youth of this team.
Dave Johnson will be on the call tonight, and we'll see what he's calling from Bilal, by the way. Some great playmaking in that first game from Bilal as well, so it's going to be fun to see that part of his game evolve. But you got pick number 1 versus pick number 2, Reece Shea versus Sarr tonight. You got it Wednesday as well, and Dave, we will talk to you then, and we will properly introduce you with a brand new song, highlight montage, the whole deal. Have a great call tonight. Tell Glenn I say hello, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Hey, we're looking forward to it Wednesday, and it is one day. One day we're going to have the Wizards in a Hawks playoff series, I do believe. For now, it'll be kind of like a playoff series, as you mentioned. We play them tonight, and then Wednesday, Capital.
Hey, look, we know it's a long haul. Anything that we can trick ourselves into, hey, the playoff feel, we'll take it. Dave Johnson, everybody, with us here on the Hoffman Show. He'll join us each and every Wizards game day. When we get back, final recollections of yesterday's Hail Noah, Hail Jayden. What are we calling this thing? That's something we need to sort out this week. Hail Maryland. Dave said that. That's a good one as well. So we'll get to all that. And, of course, there's plenty of sound from the pandemonium that was that play. And we will let you hear some of it in real things, real people said in real microphones next. It's the Hoffman Show, wrapping up here on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Dave and Glenn coming up on the call from Atlanta at the top of the hour. 7 o'clock is your pregame. 7:15 is tip-off. Monday Night Football tonight, Steelers and Giants. Daniel Jones, see him warming up right now. Good luck, buddy. You got TJ Watt coming after you tonight. Anthony, we're both on the Steelers, yeah?
I'm considering changing my pick, but I don't think I am.
Since when do we change picks?
You said what?
Since when do we change picks?
I don't know. I just had an itch. It's going to be closer than we expect.
Yeah, well, I've got the Giants against the spread.
Oh.
I think that was one of my Comp Wednesday picks?
Can tell you.
I don't remember. It's definitely one of my I need that game to pull even with Tony in first impressions.
I don't think I had another good week of
I didn't have a great week either. I don't know who won, but I definitely didn't go 3-0 again. I'll put it that way.
Or 2-1.
I don't know
or
about
3-1.
I don't know. I don't think either of us had good weeks. So we'll find out on Wednesday. We try to push that off till Wednesday.
Yes.
But normally we can't help it, and we'll find out tomorrow.
Probably.
Favorite part of the show today?
Probably the Bears suck edition of
Never read the comments.
I've never read the comments.
I don't think I've ever done something quite that petty before on the show.
It was pretty funny though.
It's got to be entertaining. Look, as I said in the intro to that thing, if you want to be a dumbass who wanders his way onto the show, welcome. Just know that you're on the show.
Yeah.
And this is entertainment. I like to be smart. I like to try to have good analysis. I don't bring like foolish guests on to do wacky bits all the time. If I do, it's Clinton, and we know what we're doing. I'll entertain nonsense sometimes, but we try to be a smart show. The whole point of this is to try to I've always thought if I'm going to have the microphone, it's a responsibility to know what I'm talking about and bring on people who study it and know what they're talking about. And that said, if we just regurgitate information, that's not very fun either. So let's have some fun with it. And we do.
Yep.
And that was fun.
A lot of fun. I feel like you thoroughly enjoyed it,
I did. Also, I was in a very petty mood today because I knew that segment was coming. And do we still know what happened with Big Tony at 4:45 or 4:30?
So he actually he texted me the same thing he said on the air. He said, tell Craig I was meaning Bears should have run the ball all game to keep
Tony
y'all off the field. And I'm like, they weren't having
I knew
success.
what you meant. It is I have to keep that glass door intact. That's why I keep hitting it with a baseball bat. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Outside of the 56-yarder, they didn't have a lot of success in the first 3 quarters.
No.
Running. So.
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't think they're probably ones necessarily there's a couple series they didn't run it. They should have. But also it's the kinds of passes they asked Caleb to throw. Everything is level 10 difficult.
Yeah.
And some of that I think is him making decisions on his own. It's let's throw a back shoulder here. And it's no, dude, just what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't rush and do something that's not that. But I don't know. They got issues in Chicago. The Commanders are just a better football team, straight up. They're way better coached. And even Flus does a good job with that defense and their defensive staff. But that offense, man, if Flus wants to stay around long term, they need to win enough games with their defense this year that he doesn't get fired, and then he needs to find another offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate doing that to a guy in second year, but you got to look at what Cliff's doing here and some of the other offenses that have really worked with young quarterbacks and go, I don't think this is it. Not whatever Waldron's trying to do.
Yeah.
All right. If you want any of that, you missed it. Have a time. go to the podcast, Hoffman Show. Just search it in any of your favorite podcast apps, or we're going to put a bunch of stuff up on YouTube too, at the Team 980 and at Craig Hoffman.
Real things.
We're not going to be so this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, Anthony, in this folder here, you have Hail Mary call one more time. What is that from? Is that a TV call?
Yeah, that's the TV call.
Okay, I just got to make sure that we have the rights to play the stuff that you put in the folder here. Because, I will give Bram credit over our colleagues over there. They did a great job. We're not allowed to play that audio. We'd be in trouble for that. I do think we're allowed to play the Spanish one. But we could definitely... GM!
Comes down to one last play. And it's going to be getting longer by the second. You're all the way back at the 30-yard line. Now you can step into it. Here comes the Hail Mary with the game on the line. And the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle! It's Noah Brown! Oh, my goodness! This town is going crazy! It's a madhouse in Landover, Maryland! He did it!
Yeah, Tony, great way to add to something there, pal. He did it. Yeah, sure did.
That call still gives me goosebumps, dog.
Yeah, Nance crushed that.
Oh, my God.
Nance did. Nance got a couple in his career. Nance is not like my personal favorite play-by-play guy, but there's no denying his greatness.
Is Harlan one?
Harlan's in his own special category.
Okay.
Like, Kevin Harlan is Kevin Harlan.
Yeah.
He's just so unique.
Yeah.
En español, por favor.
Aguanta Daniels, no tiene con quién. Ahora sí Daniels a lanzar a lo profundo del terreno de juego. Ahí está la recepción. Touchdown. Touchdown de Washington. Touchdown. Está adentro.
Moises Linares, ladies and gentlemen. See you tomorrow.